Welcome back to Mile High Hoops. Today I'm going to give you my way too early MVP predictions. So, subscribe, and leave me a comment. We'll get right into it. So, I've broken this up into four categories here. I'm going to start with my favorites. And so, this is Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. And so, Jokic has won the last two, Giannis has won the two before that. And Embiid has kind of just been there this entire time as a guy that could win it, should win it, maybe, and kind of hasn't, mostly because the game's played. And I think these three are pretty much going to be in the lead again. We've kind of seen this trend of either a new guy winning it or the same guy as before or LeBron winning it. And so I think these three are going to be the front runners again. And it comes down to, Jokic is going to have monster numbers as usual. He's got guys coming back on his team this year, so their seed will be higher, but also he won't have to do quite as much, so that might lower his stock down a little bit. Giannis has had 2 years since he's won it, and I could definitely see him winning another one before too long. And as far as Embiid goes, it's kind of just a health thing for him, but I do kind of see his situation as how Russ and James Harden won theirs, where they were in the conversation for a long time, and eventually voter fatigue kicked in and one won 1 year and then the other one won the next year. And I could see that being the path for Embiid to win one. He's going to be pushing his team to another top seed. He's going to be putting up big numbers and impacting the game in a big way. Again, it's just a matter of if he can play 70 games or so. Now I have these guys in the up next category, and so I could see any of these guys winning this year, honestly, and I don't think that it's too far-fetched to put any of them in the conversation. So Ja Morant, Zion, and Luca. I think Luca has been kind of in this conversation already. He puts up 30 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds and carries that Mavericks team way further than they should be. And so he's kind of got the storyline around him to be pushed into this next MVP slot. Ja Morant, same kind of thing. He carried the Grizzlies up to a second seed last year, and I think he's going to continue to get better. And then the Grizzlies will again be even better than last year. And he does put up big numbers. He hasn't been injury prone or anything, so I could see him being up there as well. Zion, though, we're not too sure where he's going to end up production wise. The year that he did get a good run in, we already talked about it, but he was averaging 27 points, 7 rebounds, and shooting almost 70% from the field. And so if everything comes together for the Pelicans and Zion is that guy and they're a 2 or 3 seed or something, I could very well see Zion's name being thrown into the conversation. Now, I have these guys as up next because I don't really think that any of them will win this year. I think that one of those guys in the favorites tier will win, and I'll get to who my pick is later, but I think any of these guys will win in the next 2 or 3 years. Now, these guys are only in here if everything goes right for them. I don't really see any of them winning it within the next year or two or even this year. But Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Donovan Mitchell, I think, has the storyline aspect and could very well be carried by that. If Cleveland is really good this next year and gets a top 3 seed, and Donovan Mitchell is going off, averaging 28 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, that type of thing, he could definitely be thrown into the conversation. And I see voters looking at him as the guy that came into the Cavs to really bring them all together. And if he's the star on that team, I could see him being top 5 in some of the voting. But we'll have to see for him. Devin Booker, kind of the same but different thing. He's a younger player that has carried his team to a finals a disappointing, second round where they lost to the Mavericks. And I think Chris Paul is going to take a step back a little bit, and Devin Booker will have to kind of bear more of the load. And if the Suns are good again, and Devin Booker is Devin Booker, like there's no reason why he won't be thrown into that conversation. Again, I think these guys definitely have a very low chance, but their name will be in the conversation for sure. And Bradley Beal just puts up big numbers. I mean, he was the scoring champ like 2 years ago. And I think the Wizards are always that team that overplay their projections. And I think their team is better than it looks like on paper. And with Bradley Beal being their lead guy, I could see his name being thrown into the hat for sure. Now the final tier, I have it as I doubt it, but they can't be left out, and that's LeBron, KD, Kawhi, and Steph Curry. These guys are probably some of the best four players in the league. Like, probably most people would want these guys over some of the guys that are going to win. And I think a lot of these guys are better than some of the guys that I think are going to win. But I just think that voter fatigue, their age, and in LeBron's case, a bad team is just going to keep them out of it. Starting with LeBron, again, I think the roster around him is just bad. And LeBron's getting older. I think he's going to start shooting more, especially from three. And I think his numbers will dial back a little bit as far as rebounds. I wouldn't be surprised if his assists go up and his points kind of stay where they've been, around 27. And so, again, LeBron will be in the conversation, but I don't think he'll win it. Same with KD. He was definitely in the conversation the last few years, and he puts up big numbers. We all know that KD is just an absolute bucket, and nobody can really guard him. It's a matter of how well the Nets come together, and if they're a top seed and KD plays most of the season and is putting up monster numbers like he always does, then he'll be in the conversation. But again, I mean, age and storyline isn't really going to play too big of a helping hand for him. And then Kawhi, I could see Kawhi being thrown into this more so than those other two, just for the fact that he's been injured and out for so long. And if the Clippers are just magically this world-beating team that just destroys everybody and clamps everybody up, I could see Kawhi having a better chance than the rest of these other three. And so it's just a matter of if Kawhi's healthy. Kawhi's going to be the best defensive player in the entire league. And it's just a matter of he's out there, and if the three ball is dropping, because his mid-ranger is unstoppable. He gets up, grab rebounds over anybody because he's just so athletic and has the longest wingspan imaginable. And it's Kawhi. Kawhi is one of the best players in the league and probably one of the best wings we've ever seen. And then there's Steph Curry. And so Steph Curry is going to put up big numbers like always. I mean, all these guys do, or they wouldn't be in this conversation. And I just don't think Steph is going to have the voters on his side, especially after winning another chip. Again, Steph has already won it twice before, and so I don't think voters will be too inclined to pick him. I mean, he's going to have votes. He's going to be putting up a lot of points, a lot of assists, and leading the league in probably free throw percentage unless Jordan Poole beats him again. And, I mean, they're going to be a top seed. And so he's got all of the things around him to be an MVP. It's just a matter of if the storyline fits him and voters want to pick for him, which, again, I keep coming back to it. I think those younger three that are the next up in the league, Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid, I think those guys are going to be the forerunners again. And these older superstars just probably won't get the love that they should as far as votes. Now, who I think is going to win it is Embiid. He's kind of been left out the last 4 years, and he's been in the top three in all of those. I think that it's finally his turn, kind of, as far as like the voters look at it, for him to win. Just a matter of if he doesn't have like a catastrophic injury of some sort. I believe that he could probably win it at like 65, 70 games played. Um, but I mean, he does everything that he needs to do to win an MVP. His team is always top 3 or 4 seed, and he always puts up like 28 points, a lot of rebounds, a couple blocks. He just does it all for his team, and he fits the entire narrative of an MVP. And I think he's going to do it. It's just a matter of the health, of course. And I am going to cheat a little bit here and give you a second one. I think Luca actually has a massive chance to win it. It's just a matter of if the narrative fits enough and if he gets a high seed. It just, Luca puts up such big, incredible numbers every single year. And with Jalen Brunson leaving, I think that the storyline would fit him where he's going to be a little bit more ball dominant, putting up even bigger numbers, and carrying his team even harder to a higher seed and to bigger and more impressive wins. So if Joel goes down with an injury, I pick Luca to win it, and that's just insurance on myself. So again, thank you for listening. This has been Mile High Hoops, and we were talking about way too early MVP predictions. So let me know down below who your main choice is, and who some of your like secondary guys are down below, and leave me a comment, like or dislike, and please subscribe if you could. It would help a whole bunch. And I'll be back with another one, probably either Defensive Player of the Year or maybe Coach. And I'll see you then.